States, they've put out a really strong statement. They said, in case of a trade war or any other type of war, we are ready to fight till the end. Now, that was a repeat of a statement that came out from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
方如果别有所图，执意打关税战、贸易战或者别的什么战，中方将奉陪到底。
China has issued a strong challenge amid rising tensions. A statement from Chinese state media shows their confidence, built on years of preparation for economic conflict. While US policymakers debated tariffs, China was creating a sanctions-proof economy. China has taken steps to reduce leverage points. They control 90% of global rare earth processing and have developed alternative financial systems that avoid the dollar. This video shows how China turned US economic pressure into a push for self-sufficiency, following a plan similar to wartime economic preparation. When the US imposed its first major sanctions on Huawei in 2019,
Huawei is something that's very dangerous. You look at what they've done from a security standpoint, from a military standpoint, it's very dangerous. So
many analysts expected the company to fail quickly. Instead, Huawei adapted by developing its own operating system
我们 HarmonyOS 3.0 来了
and focusing on areas not affected by sanctions. They also used China's largest domestic market to stay afloat. Today, Huawei has not only survived, but has become a symbol of China's economic resilience against Western pressure. This reflects China's strategy to create sanctions-resistant economies. Traditional sanctions use dependencies to force compliance, but China has eliminated these vulnerabilities. After the 2008 financial crisis, China started building redundancies in critical sectors. China has built up reserves of essential commodities, like petroleum and grain, to sustain the country during crises. They have also created alternative financial systems, such as the China International Payment System, which can operate independently of Western systems. China has also promoted the international use of the yuan to build a network of trading partners outside US influence. The Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, when the US cut off China's chip company, SMIC, from advanced equipment in 2020, most experts said China's semiconductor industry would fall years behind, without access to EUV machines from companies like ASML. Chinese firms were not supposed to produce chips smaller than 14 nanometers. Yet within 4 years, SMIC was producing 5 nanometer chips using existing DUV technology, something previously thought impossible. These semiconductor restrictions were central to the US plan to slow Chinese technological growth. By cutting off critical equipment and software, the US wanted to limit China's ability to develop advanced technologies used in areas like aerospace, telecommunications, and artificial intelligence. But US leaders underestimated China's commitment to technological self-sufficiency. China responded with a national push to overcome dependence on foreign suppliers, launching a $150 billion fund just for semiconductors. This was part of a wider national effort directing hundreds of billions toward domestic alternatives in key industries. SMIC's 5 nanometer achievement shows China's determination. Although the current process has drawbacks, production yields are lower and costs higher than rivals like TSMC, making the Chinese chips less competitive commercially. Still, the advance marks real progress toward China's technological independence. China also focuses on controlling the rules and standards for new technology. Through its China Standards 2035 program, it aims to set global standards such as AI, 5G and 6G networks, and quantum computing. Setting standards reduces dependence on foreign countries and creates new revenue streams from licensing fees. It also allows Chinese ideas about data privacy and cybersecurity to be included directly into the basic design of future technologies. While China works to remove its dependence on foreign technology, it's also building a global system to protect itself from American economic pressure. The Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, is often described by Western experts as a plan focused mainly on trade or resources. But it also functions as a strategic network to protect China during conflicts. For example, Sri Lanka gave China control of Hambantota Port on a 99-year lease after facing loan repayment issues. Western media mainly called it a debt issue, but this move gives China a permanent foothold at a critical location, keeping its presence secure even if other countries attempt isolation. The China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, CPEC, shows how these projects protect China's strategic interests. CPEC creates a route to the Arabian Sea, so China no longer depends only on the Malacca Strait. This alternative supply line could stay open even if maritime trade becomes blocked or disrupted. China follows this approach in many other areas. Railways across Central Asia offer land-based options to sea trade. Taken together, these projects create a strong network that protects China from economic isolation. China's Digital Silk Road focuses on building technology infrastructure. Through this plan, Chinese companies build fiber optic cables, 5G networks, and satellite systems in partner countries. These projects form networks that can remain independent from Western-controlled internet systems. This includes not only internet systems, but also services like payment, cloud computing, and data management. BRI also improves China's diplomatic position. Countries involved in the initiative often support China's policies in places like the United Nations, reducing the risk of international isolation. When disagreements happen between the United States and China, these countries usually side with China. Energy projects under the BRI offer another important protection. The China-Myanmar pipeline connects China to energy sources without passing through the Malacca Strait. Similar pipelines to Central Asia and Russia offer routes safe from naval blockades. These energy corridors help maintain China's economic and military strength during difficulty. The advantage of China's approach is its commercial appearance. By presenting projects as trade-focused activities, China avoids heavy opposition from Western countries. China's approach has proved successful during recent Western sanctions against Russia after the Ukraine invasion. Despite sanctions, China kept economic activity with Russia, going through BRI routes. This showed how China's strategic projects offer practical solutions during conflicts. Ports, railways, energy corridors, technology networks, and diplomatic relations together form a system designed to protect China against economic pressure. Today, China controls about 90% of the world's rare earth processing. The importance of this is significant. Rare earth minerals are used in many electronics and advanced military systems, including fighter jets. Although Western countries own some rare earth mines, nearly all processing facilities are in China. This creates a serious dependency. If a conflict happens, Western countries could struggle immediately to replace military equipment. China's control of resources doesn't stop with rare earth minerals. China also has a strong position in the lithium-ion battery industry, critical for electric cars and advanced military equipment. Chinese companies have major investments in lithium and cobalt mining in Africa and South America. China also leads in renewable energy equipment. Chinese companies produce around 80% of the world's solar panels and about 70% of global lithium-ion batteries. As energy systems worldwide shift away from oil and coal, China maintains control of critical materials and resources required for the new systems. Another important part of the resource strategy relates to food. China has invested in agricultural projects in Africa and South America, giving it reliable food supplies from abroad. This provides security during any disruption to trade and gives China influence with partner countries. For Western defense leaders, this controlled access is troubling. Many advanced weapons use materials processed in China. Fighter jets, guided weapons, and military communication systems depend on Chinese-controlled minerals. Western countries could find it difficult to produce or replace military equipment quickly during conflicts. Finding alternative supply chains is complicated and takes a lot of time. Creating new rare earth processing plants or new sources for battery materials requires several years of planning, investment, and approval. China's advantage is that it can immediately disrupt supplies, and Western countries cannot quickly replace these resources. When the US removed Russia from the SWIFT banking system in 2022, the power of US sanctions was clear. Sanctions worked on countries like Iran and Venezuela by cutting them off from global banking, hurting their trade and economies. China realized this risk and began making plans to avoid such pressure. It created its own banking system called CIPS, which processed more than $12 trillion worth of transactions in 2023. Unlike SWIFT, which handles messaging between banks, CIPS allows direct payments using Chinese currency without relying on US dollars. The effectiveness of this system was tested against Russia. After Russia was blocked from SWIFT in 2022, Russian banks turned to China's CIPS to continue international transactions in yuan. This showed China's system could successfully bypass US restrictions. China also set up currency swap agreements with other countries. These allow trade directly in yuan without having to use the dollar. Today, around 20% of Chinese international trade is settled in yuan, and the number is rising. Through the Belt and Road Initiative and other programs, China has encouraged many nations to reduce their dollar dependency. These connections don't just help China economically, they also make it harder for the US to isolate China financially. The more countries join these new systems, the stronger they become. The US ability to pressure other economies financially through dollar control decreases over time. China's efforts have significantly reduced the power of US financial pressure. This is leading to a major change in the balance of global economic power. China's financial independence serves as its defensive shield, while its offensive strategy lies in a system where civilian technologies easily transition into military capabilities. At a 2019 drone exhibition, 2,000 synchronized drones lit up the sky, showcasing both commercial innovation and potential military applications like surveillance and coordinated strikes. This demonstrated China's military-civil fusion strategy, which blurs the line between civilian and defense technologies. In contrast, the US maintains clear separations between commercial tech and military use due to legal, ethical, and institutional barriers. China's system allows the People's Liberation Army, PLA, to access civilian technology without delays or resistance. By 2025, PLA training will focus heavily on artificial intelligence and unmanned systems developed in the commercial sector. China's dominance in commercial drone manufacturing highlights this strategy, controlling 70% of the global market. Chinese companies have built unmatched expertise and supply chains that can quickly shift to military applications during conflicts. China's domestic surveillance infrastructure is another example. The world's largest network of cameras and sensors, designed for social stability, can double as a military intelligence system during conflicts, identifying troop movements or critical infrastructure. Virtual reality systems used for gaming also enhance PLA training. Soldiers practice operations and simulations that replicate potential conflict zones, improving readiness while reducing costs. Factories producing consumer electronics or vehicles are designed for rapid conversion to military purposes, maintaining latent production capacity. This strategy responds to Western technological superiority. Instead of matching US military technology directly, China leverages its commercial sector's scale and innovation. Western intelligence agencies struggle to assess this approach. Traditional measures like counting aircraft carriers or fighter squadrons are inadequate when military value is concealed within China's civilian economy. A drone manufacturer or facial recognition company could serve military purposes during conflict. As the economic divide between China and the West deepens, businesses worldwide are adapting to what resembles two parallel systems. Western companies are diversifying supply chains and seeking partnerships in emerging markets to manage geopolitical risks. This reflects an acknowledgement of the fracturing global economic architecture. For global businesses, success now depends on the ability to navigate these divergent systems. those who adapt to the complexity of a fragmented world order will thrive.
美国应该复盘一下，你们从这些年的关税战、贸易战中得到了什么？贸易逆差是扩大了还是缩小了？制造业的竞争力是上升了还是下降了？通膨是好转了还是恶化了？民众的生活是变好了还是变糟了？中美经贸关系是相互的、对等的。如果选择合作，就能实现互利共赢；如果一味施压，中方必将坚决反制。